Good morning, intrepid readers. How's the volume? I never know whether anyone has turned the speaker on or off. Is that better? It is a lovely Wednesday morning. I'm feeling incredibly grateful to be alive, and really awful about what happened in Las Vegas a couple of days ago. I have people I know here who have lost people, and I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that, except because I always have something to say. I wish this guy, if suicide was his end game, I wish he would have just started with that and left the rest of us alone. That's just how I'm feeling right now. I don't understand what happened. It's horrifying and awful, and it actually relates a little bit to the blog that I'm discussing today that's from last weekend before this tragedy ever happened. And that was about Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Do you remember that show? I know there's a current show called Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood on PBS. That's an animated animal show. And text messages. And but it's not nearly the same. And so this blog is from last weekend. Everyone was up super early on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning. I can't remember. Saturday morning, I think. 6 a.m. Saturday morning. My youngest son is downstairs and I'm downstairs. And the show that's on, KPBS, is Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. The real one, the old one with Mr. Rogers himself. And the blog has a clip, or actually has the show itself in a link. And so if you've never seen him, you should check that out. Mr. Rogers he's a minister, I guess, puppeteer. He's this guy who did this show in the 70s that was all about people and helping people be good neighbors. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Anyway, that song. And it was such a good show, and I was little at the time. I was probably 6 or 7 when we watched this show. And so this show came on Saturday morning, and I saw it, and I told my youngest son about it, and then I just started crying. And I couldn't figure out why all of a sudden I'm crying. Am I just feeling nostalgic for the 70s and for that show? And what's going on? And I kind of figured out that, yeah, that was part of it, but also just my awe at Mr. Rogers, who seems, by all accounts I've heard and read, to be this guy in real life who is always trying to help people and always joyful and compassionate and empathetic and naturally so. Like innately so is how I feel. And I really want to be that way. Like I can work on my gratitude and I can spend mindful time looking at that, but it doesn't feel like a natural state of mind for me. It's like I do it because I know that's what I should do, and because I want to be a caring member of my community, and because I want to help my community and be a better citizen and whatever, make the list, 1, 2, 3. Those are all the things I want, but I don't feel like it's built in, just natural part of me. And this tragedy is like, so I was sort of feeling about Mr. Rogers, like there's not that many people. There's a lot of people who aren't like that. There's too many people that have gone the other way as far as being disconnected and cold and isolated. And to me, this shooter was an example of that, like a prime, scary example of that. But the people that came forward to help just innately and instinctually and right from the second there was trouble, was a big number. And so, it made me happy, and it made me figure out that maybe there are Mr. Rogerses in the world at all. And I wanted a new bracelet. I've decided my new bracelet's going to be, what would Mr. Rogers do? WWMRD. And that's how I'm going to be thinking about it in my future. And trying not to burst into tears every time I think about stuff like this. So anyway, that was last week's blog. What would Mr. Rogers do? It's a mystery of whether or not people can be so innately good all the time? And if so, how do they do it? That's what I would like to discuss. With anyone who wants to discuss it with me, I would love to hear how you feel. And otherwise, until next time, stay mystified.